code, at the time you took office, said that an officer could be recalled with 30% of registered resident voters in the city based upon the last election. That's the way it was when you took office. That's the way it is now. The Court of Appeals addressed that and said the requirements that were provided for under our charter have been met by the proponents of these petitions.
How do you get this changed? City Council?
To change the charter, the City Council does not change the charter. The voters in the city change the charter by a referendum that would be amending the city charter and put to the voters for the change. It's just like the United States Constitution cannot be changed by Congress. It can only be changed by a general election of the populace of the United States. Same way with our charter. Now, your query is good because part of the response that I had made to the Court of Appeals was that we had a charter when 5 at-large candidates were in office. But in '91, whenever we created 4 single-member districts, the charter never was changed. So we have to accept the charter as it exists today, and we must enforce it.
Mr. Ratcliffe.
Yes.
I'm not cutting you over,
That's right.
I just want to say something. I think that the voters, they need to know this, and they need to think about it, because nobody's putting it out there. We're gonna pass this election like no problem, but there's something that you need to consider. The so-called legal concerned citizens, I call them unconcerned citizens. If they were so concerned, then why hadn't they figured out what's gonna happen to this city if you recall 3 councilmen on a 5-man council? You can do no business until the next general election, which will be in May.
That's right.
The city will be shut down. All the important business coming here that's got to be taken care of. Everybody worried about the light bills and stuff going up. It's gonna be more than that going up, because nobody can do anything. And Tommy Barker needs the city manager to talk to him sometime. He'll tell you there's some very important decisions that's gonna have to be made on this council between now and then. Who's gonna do it? You can't appoint anybody.
Let's hold this to questions to council, please.
Yes, and I think that, and not to cut you off, Councilman Scott, I think that if there is a call for a re-election and a second, and I think the Parliament Rules of Procedure then provide for a discussion among yourselves, and I think that would be the most appropriate time to make your statement.
No problem.
To be honest with you. But to go on with what I was saying is that the Court of Appeals, and I'm going to finish real quick here. The Court of Appeals stated that calling for the recall election to you councilmen is a ministerial act. It is not a discretionary act. The difference is, if you wanted to buy for the city a street sweeper, it's discretion within you to buy it and what you pay for it. That's a discretionary act. But this is an act that eliminates discretion. It says it is a ministerial act. It is a duty imposed upon you. There is no question. You must call for the re-election or order the re-election, period. That's basically what the Court of Appeals has said. There is no yes or no. There's only yes. Fulfilling your duty in office. So I would hope that when a motion is made for the recall elections, it is quickly seconded and it is quickly voted on unanimously. Now I will point out, in the order in which this will be done, will be Councilman Adams, you will be the first recall petition order. Since you are the topic of that recall petition, you must abstain from any participation in that vote, motion, second, or discussion. And then it will turn to you, Mr. Land. If it calls upon your recall election, you must abstain from commenting, voting, anything, and likewise Mrs. Norton. At the conclusion, if the council passes the order for the recall elections, there will be an order. I think it's attached to each one of your notices. And there is an order for recall election that you will see attached to your notice. This must be signed by each council member and the mayor. The Court of Appeals has requested that upon the calling of the recall elections, that I must notify them that the secretary has ordered the recall elections. This is the proof that I would have to submit to the Court of Appeals in Beaumont, and I would like to do that tomorrow morning via fax. Also attached to that, so I'd ask that if the council performs its duties and makes the recall election, that each councilman would sign this before you leave your council table, so that so our city secretary has it. You'll notice that the second thing on the agenda outside of the recall elections is the notice of the recall election notice. This provides for a November the 8th election. It provides for the polling or the voting places. It provides for the early voting, and this notice of recall election must be signed by our mayor, but it must be approved by the council. This follows the order of the recall election. So it's basically the requirement that the council approve the notice of recall election, and this has been prepared by our secretary. Finally, one last thing. In order to fully abide by the Court of Appeals decision, if we are not able to make a recall election tonight and obey the court's order, then I have requested the mayor to make a special emergency city council meeting for tomorrow night at 5:30. And each night, or until this matter is done. Our deadline is September the 7th, but we have to have an order for the recall elections filed by September the 7th. And this will be accomplished without the need, I hope, of any further court intervention. Now, do any of you have any questions that you would like for me to?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yes.
I got a question on the election. Election's gonna be set up for November.
Yes.
Who is eligible with running this election? Does anybody want to submit?
No, wait. The election on November the 8th is the recall election. And if you'll look at the charter, the only question that will be put to the voter is should, and I'll read it to you, Councilman Adams. It's under section 6.08 of the re-election provision of our charter, and I'll read it to you. Ballots used in a recall election shall conform to the following requirements. Okay? With respect to each person whose removal is sought, the question shall be submitted as follows. And Councilman Adams, can I use your name?
Yeah.
Okay. Shall Tommy Adams be removed from office of council member District 3 by recall? Answer, yes or no. That is all that is on the ballot. This is not an election for a general election. It is a special call, recall election. So that is the only question submitted to the voters. All right? Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes.
What are the locations for the voting? Where would that take
The
place at?
voting polls, Karen?
I believe they are listed.
They're attached. Have you got?
Notice of election. Notice of election.
It's on the notice of election, Mrs. Northworthy, the last page. Okay, I'll read it. The polling places will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on November the 8th. Special elections will be, the locations are precinct number 6, Church of Christ, 1830 South Wheeler. Precinct number 7, First National Bank Community Room, 301 East Houston. Precinct number 8, Jasper Bible Church, 100 State Street, Highway 63. Precinct number 20, Tanglewood Baptist Church. Precinct number 21, Presbyterian Church, 749 Vernon Street. The early voting, I believe, will take place here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And those will be the voting locations for the recall election. Any other questions?
How do we come about these particular areas to vote?
I believe those have been the ones that we've used for the general election, is that correct?
State law says you have to go with the county election and the county precinct, just like in the May election, we do the school here, and we set the city up here and the school up on the other side. It's a general election, but it's the county, and we have to go in with the county. We don't have separate, we normally have the 4 districts in May.
Yes,
This
that's
is in
what I thought.
November. This is November, we have to go in with the county.
That's all. Any other questions? Mayor Lau, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, item for number 1 is consider approving the following. I've been told we have to do these separate, is that correct?
That's correct.
Order of recall election, November the 8th, 2011.